She donated her kidney to save a stranger's child, then discovered the child never existed. Sarah Mitchell's hands trembled as she scrolled through the GoFundMe page at 2 a.m. The photo showed a 6-year-old boy named Lucas Chen, pale and fragile, in a hospital bed, tubes snaking from his small arms. His mother, Diana, had written a plea that shattered hearts across the internet. "My son needs a kidney transplant. We've exhausted every option. Insurance won't cover it. Please. He's running out of time." The campaign had raised $180,000 in 3 weeks. Sarah, a 34-year-old elementary school teacher from Portland, had donated $500. But that wasn't enough for her. She'd lost her own brother to kidney disease when she was 19. She knew that desperate, helpless feeling. So she did something most people only talk about doing. She contacted Diana directly and offered to get tested as a potential donor. "I know we're strangers," Sarah typed, her heart racing. "But if I'm a match, I want to help Lucas." Diana's response came within minutes. Paragraphs of gratitude, crying emojis. "You're an angel. We're at Seattle Children's Hospital. Can you come meet us?" If you're already feeling something shift in your chest, wait, because this story goes somewhere you won't predict. Keep watching. Sarah drove 4 hours to Seattle the next weekend. She'd already been tested at her local hospital and discovered she was a universal donor, O negative, compatible with almost anyone. The doctors had cleared her medically. All she needed now was to meet the family and finalize the arrangements with the surgical team. Diana had given her a room number, 4217. Sarah walked through the hospital corridors, bouquet of flowers in hand, rehearsing what she'd say to Lucas. Would he be scared? Would he understand what she was offering him? She knocked on the door. No answer. She knocked again. A nurse passing by stopped. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Lucas Chen, room 42117. The nurse's face wrinkled in confusion. "There's no patient by that name on this floor. Are you sure you have the right room?" Sarah's stomach dropped. She pulled out her phone, showed the nurse the messages from Diana. The nurse checked her computer, checked again. "I'm sorry, but we don't have any pediatric patient named Lucas Chen registered at this hospital. Not in this wing, not anywhere." Keep watching. This is where everything Sarah thought she knew starts unraveling. Sarah called Diana immediately, straight to voicemail. She called again, nothing. She showed the hospital staff the GoFundMe page. They directed her to hospital security. The security officer, a man named Marcus with tired eyes, listened to her story. Then he said something that made Sarah's blood run cold. "You're the third person this month asking about a sick child that doesn't exist." The other two had also been potential donors. One had offered a kidney. The other had tried to donate bone marrow. Both had been sent to different hospitals in Washington state. Both had found empty rooms. Both had been ghosted by the parents they'd tried to help. Marcus made some calls. Within an hour, Sarah was sitting in a small office with a detective from the Seattle Police Department's fraud division. "Tell me everything," Detective Amy Reeves said, opening her laptop. Sarah walked her through it all: the GoFundMe, the messages, the medical tests she'd undergone, the 4-hour drive, the empty hospital room. Detective Reeves pulled up the GoFundMe page. Her jaw tightened. This is still active, still collecting donations. She scrolled through the updates Diana had posted, photos of Lucas in various hospital settings, videos of Diana crying, thanking donors, comments from hundreds of people offering prayers, money, support. "Can you tell if the photos are real?" Sarah asked. Reeves ran the images through reverse search software. The first 3 photos? Stock images from medical websites. The videos? Harder to trace. But the metadata showed they'd been filmed in a private residence, not a hospital. Stay with me, because what they discovered next changed everything about this case. Reeves contacted GoFundMe's fraud department. They froze the account immediately and began tracing where the money had gone. Over the next 72 hours, investigators uncovered a network that made Sarah sick to her stomach. Diana Chen wasn't one person. It was at least 4 different women using stolen identities and photos of real sick children taken from private social media accounts of actual parents going through medical crises. They'd found these photos in closed Facebook groups for parents of children with chronic illnesses, support communities where desperate families shared their stories, never imagining someone would weaponize their grief. The operation had been running for 14 months, across 6 different campaigns, different children, different diseases, leukemia, heart defects, kidney failure, rare genetic disorders. Total amount stolen, $2.7 million. But here's what made Sarah's chest tighten until she couldn't breathe. They'd been specifically targeting potential organ donors, finding people emotionally vulnerable enough, compassionate enough to offer pieces of themselves, then extracting their personal information, social security numbers, medical records, insurance details, during the donor screening process. You need to hear what happened next. Don't click away. Sarah had given them everything: her medical history, her insurance information, her social security number, all of it willingly because she believed she was saving a child's life. Detective Reeves leaned forward. Sarah, I need you to understand something. You're not just a victim of donation fraud. You're a victim of identity theft. And based on the pattern we're seeing, they've likely already opened credit cards in your name. Sarah felt the room spin. How is that possible? I only gave them medical information. Medical information is gold in the black market. Your social security number, date of birth, mother's maiden name, it's all in those donor screening forms. They had everything they needed. Sarah checked her credit report that night. 5 new credit cards she'd never applied for. $47,000 in fraudulent charges. Her credit score had dropped 200 points. She called her bank, her credit card companies, the 3 credit bureaus. She filed police reports. She froze her credit. She spent hours on hold, explaining the same story over and over to skeptical customer service representatives who kept asking why she'd given out her social security number to a stranger on the internet. I was trying to save a child's life, she kept saying, her voice breaking. The investigation expanded. FBI got involved. They discovered the operation was based in 3 different states: Washington, California, and Texas. The money had been laundered through cryptocurrency exchanges and offshore accounts. Tracking it was like chasing smoke. But if you think this story ends with Sarah broken and defeated, you haven't been paying attention. 3 months into the investigation, Detective Reeves called Sarah. We found her, the main operator. Her real name is Monica Delgado. She's been arrested. Sarah drove back to Seattle for the arraignment. She wanted to see the face of the woman who'd stolen from hundreds of people, who'd turned human compassion into a commodity. Monica Delgado was 32, attractive, articulate. She stood in the courtroom wearing a gray suit, her expression blank. The prosecutor read the charges: wire fraud, identity theft, money laundering, conspiracy to commit fraud, 47 counts total. Then they showed the evidence: the fake hospital photos, the stolen images of real sick children, the spreadsheets tracking donors and their personal information, the bank statements showing millions moving through shell companies. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. And I mean nobody, not even the prosecutors. Monica Delgado's lawyer stood up and said, "Your Honor, my client would like to make a statement." Monica approached the microphone. Sarah leaned forward in the gallery, her fingernails digging into her palms. "Everything the prosecution said is true," Monica began. "I ran these campaigns, I stole the money, I targeted vulnerable people who wanted to help sick children." The courtroom went silent. "But I didn't keep the money. I never spent a dollar on myself." This is the moment that changed everything. Stay with me. Monica's lawyer submitted financial records, bank statements, wire transfers. Every dollar Monica had stolen, all $2.7 million, had been transferred to a single recipient: her daughter, Emma Delgado, who actually had stage 4 neuroblastoma. The prosecution scrambled. They brought in new evidence. Emma Delgado was real. She was 11 years old. She'd been in and out of Seattle Children's Hospital for 3 years. Her medical bills had exceeded $3 million. Insurance had covered some, but not enough. Monica had bankrupted herself paying for experimental treatments, so she'd created fake campaigns instead of a real one for Emma because, as she told the court, no one donates to a real story anymore. Everyone's numb to it. But a fresh crisis, a new face, that gets attention, that gets money. I couldn't let my daughter die because I wasn't a good enough storyteller. Sarah sat in that courtroom, her mind reeling. She'd been furious for months. She'd wanted justice. She'd wanted this woman to rot in prison. But now she didn't know what to feel. Don't go anywhere, Because what the judge decided shocked everyone. The judge, a woman in her 60s named Patricia Brennan, looked at Monica for a long moment. Then she said, "Miss Delgado, I've been a judge for 23 years. I've seen every kind of fraud, every kind of manipulation, and what you did is unforgivable." Monica's head dropped. "You exploited people's compassion. You stole their identities. You turned their desire to help into a weapon against them. The fact that you had a sick daughter doesn't excuse that. It doesn't erase the trauma you caused to hundreds of victims." Judge Brennan paused. "But I'm also a mother, and I understand desperation in ways I wish I didn't." She sentenced Monica to 12 years in federal prison. No parole eligibility for 8 years. Full restitution to all victims, even though Monica had no assets left to seize. But then Judge Brennan did something unusual. She looked directly at Sarah in the gallery. "Miss Mitchell, would you approach the bench?" Sarah stood on shaking legs and walked forward. "You came here to donate your kidney to a child you'd never met. That impulse, that generosity, is rare. Don't let what happened to you kill that part of yourself. The world needs people like you, even if people like Miss Delgado exploit it." If you're still watching, I want you to know what Sarah did next, because this is where the story finds its redemption. Sarah left the courtroom that day and contacted the National Kidney Registry. She told them her story. She told them she was still willing to donate, but this time she wanted to do it through a legitimate medical institution with proper safeguards. They matched her with a recipient within 6 weeks. A 12-year-old boy named Christopher in Denver. Real hospital, real doctors, real child. Sarah donated her kidney 4 months after Monica's sentencing. Christopher's mother, Rachel, met Sarah in the hospital the day before surgery. She held Sarah's hands and said, "I don't understand why you're doing this. We're strangers." Sarah thought about Lucas Chen, the boy who never existed. She thought about Monica Delgado and her daughter Emma, fighting cancer while her mother dismantled other people's lives to save her. She thought about the darkness that desperation creates and the light that compassion can still shine through it. "We're not strangers," Sarah said. "We're just people trying to survive, and sometimes survival means helping each other." The surgery was successful. Christopher's body accepted the kidney. He was released from the hospital 2 weeks later. Sarah's recovery took longer. There were complications, infections, pain that lasted months. But she'd do it again, she told Detective Reeves when they met for coffee 6 months post-surgery. She'd do it again in a heartbeat. But here's the epilogue that most people don't know, and it's the part that matters most. Monica Delgado's daughter Emma received a bone marrow transplant from an anonymous donor 8 months into Monica's prison sentence. The cancer went into remission. The donor never revealed their identity, but hospital records showed the donation came from Portland, Oregon. Detective Reeves called Sarah when she found out. "Sarah, please tell me you didn't." Sarah was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I don't know what you're talking about." "You donated bone marrow to the daughter of the woman who stole your identity and ruined your credit." "Like I said, Detective, I don't know what you're talking about. But if I did know something about an anonymous donation, I'd say that Emma is 11 years old. She didn't choose her mother, she didn't ask for any of this. And maybe the only way to fight darkness is to keep choosing light, even when it doesn't make sense." Reeves didn't push further. Some truths don't need interrogation. If you watch this whole story, I want you to ask yourself something before you click away. What's more powerful, revenge or compassion? Sarah Mitchell had every reason to be angry, every reason to want Monica Delgado to suffer, every reason to let bitterness destroy the generous part of herself that led her into that trap in the first place. But she didn't. She chose differently. This is not a story about being a victim. This is a story about choosing who you want to be when the world shows you its worst. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to remember that compassion isn't naive. It's revolutionary. And drop a comment telling me, would you have done what Sarah did? Would you have donated to Emma after everything Monica put you through? Because I genuinely want to know. I want to know if there are more people like Sarah out there, people who refuse to let cruelty define them. Thanks for watching until the end. Your time matters, and I'm grateful you spent it here. See you in the next story.